The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation is reporting an inmate at Salinas Valley State Prison has tested positive for coronavirus. According to the department's population tracker, it is an active case. In total, 3 employees at the prison have tested positive, and one of them has returned to work. 2 correctional training facility employees tested positive as well. Both of them have also returned to work. The Monterey County Health Department is releasing guidance for public pools as they begin to reopen. Pools were included in the state's fitness facility guidance, and the facilities were allowed to reopen statewide on June 12th with county approval. Saunas, steam rooms, and hot tubs need to remain closed, though. The guidelines say to stay at home if you do not feel well, stay 6 feet away from people, and wear a face covering when not in the water. Also, washing hands often.
This is not about being weak.
It's about fighting the disease and keeping our families and ourselves safe.
And it's about getting Californians back to work.
Familiar faces. Governor Newsom is teaming up with former California governors Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jerry Brown, Gary Davis, and Pete Wilson to encourage the state to wear masks and slow the spread of COVID-19. Last week, Governor Newsom issued a mandatory order for masks statewide. Newsom's COVID-19 update today echoed that message exactly. As of today, the state has confirmed more than 178,000 cases of coronavirus in the past 2 weeks. Alone, the state recorded 35.6% of all of those cases. The number of people tested in the state has also gone up significantly, with a record number of 92,000 tests given on Sunday and more than 3 million tests conducted since mid-March. But the test positivity rate has also risen from 4.5 last Monday to 4.8% today. This still is below the 8% threshold that is considered to be severe. A new state budget deal is a blow to state workers. The coronavirus stay-at-home order has tanked California revenue. Still, the governor and the legislature agreed to a plan to cover the state's nearly $55 billion deficit. People with knowledge of this plan say it avoids cuts to schools, healthcare programs, and other core services in the state. It does not impose nearly a $3 billion salary cuts to state workers. It does, rather. All right, turning to a look at our forecast, weather forecast, that is. Max Charlton, it was summer this weekend, but it sure doesn't feel like it out there, or look like it.
Well, it doesn't really look like it, but it is seasonable, so this is really what we can expect when we kick off the season of summer. Here's a look from our camera down at Domenico's on the Wharf, and there's more clouds hanging around for you. The temperatures aren't too bad, though, along the central coast. 62 down on the peninsula from that shot there, and 65 in Salinas. 61 for our friends in Watsonville and Santa Cruz, 70 in Boulder Creek. Morgan Hill hanging out at 82 now. And inland, you can still see things hanging out in the 80s for much of southern Monterey County. A few folks in the 90s, and Bradley still at 101 degrees right now. So the big talking points today are those clouds that are going to remain in our area. Seasonable weather conditions nonetheless, but warm and dry inland. We'll talk about your conditions over the next 7 days coming up in your full forecast.
Thanks, Max. The suspect in the deadly Ben Lomond attack on Santa Cruz County deputies has transferred out of the Monterey County Jail, now in federal custody. Here's what we know. The Santa Cruz County District Attorney's Office charged 32-year-old Stephen Carrillo with murder and multiple attempted murder charges related to the Ben Lomond attack, an attack that claimed the life of Sergeant Damon Gutzweiler. Carrillo is also facing federal charges as he's believed to have helped orchestrate an attack on federal officers in Oakland, killing one officer there. He is facing federal murder and attempted murder charges for that incident. An Aromas man is dead tonight after a tractor trailer crashed on Interstate 129 at River Oaks and in that area. That crash closed 129 starting at Highway 101. The CHP says that driver of a Honda was heading west on 129 when, for whatever reason, crossed the double yellow line and drove into the eastbound traffic. The Honda smashed head-on into that tractor trailer. The driver of the truck, a 45-year-old man from Vacaville, his condition has not been released. In your crime alert now, Morgan Hill police are investigating what they're calling a horrific crime scene that left one woman dead and another man with threatening life injuries. Police say they responded to a domestic disturbance that is involving a couple and their own son on the 1600 block of Rustling Oak Court. They found 25-year-old Dane Clayton covered in blood, demanding that police officers shoot him. He was arrested. A woman was found dead at the scene with multiple stab wounds. A man with multiple stab wounds was flown to a hospital. And police reform on its way in Salinas. Why part of the changes include how police dogs react during an arrest. And fire season may bring new power shutoffs for people along the coast. How PG&E is moving to make sure your lights come back on as soon as possible. And all new tonight at 6, the search for a San Jose woman accused of coughing on a baby. Why police say she was trying to get back at the child's mother.
KION has been brought to you by Primo Roofing.
The open road, the wind in your hair, the feeling of freedom that drives us to go out and discover. At Chevy, we're committed to getting you there with confidence and peace of mind. That's why your Chevy Clean dealers commit to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers. If you need a new Silverado, get 0% APR for 72 months or $5,500 cash allowance on all Silverado Crew Cab pickups. You may even shop online and take delivery at home where available.
There's never been a better time to buy a new car, truck, or SUV from Salinas Valley Ford. With high inventory and low interest rates, and with incentives and rebates galore, make sure you take advantage of this unique opportunity. And remember, with our online instant upfront pricing, you never have to leave the comfort of your home. Want to take a test drive first? We'll come to you. Now is the time to buy at Salinas Valley Ford. We are the Valley.
Good can be found during difficult times. And KION is highlighting all the goodness being done across the Central Coast. Communities coming together.
Try and make a little bit of a difference in someone else's life.
Strangers offering a helping hand.
We just wanted to make sure that everybody had enough to eat.
Caring for our neighbors.
I can bring something to the neighborhood, hopefully some joy and some laugh.
Our friends. Join KION Friday nights as we share your positive stories. Central Coast Cheer.
I traveled from coast to coast to find America's toughest workers, who all wear the calluses on their hands as a badge of honor. I'm a drywaller,
iron worker,
firefighter. On Wednesday, July 8th.
It's never too late in life. Anything's possible.
This is designed to break you and test you like never before.
I want to see how tough I am.
We never give up.
Tough as Nails. New series Wednesday, July 8th on CBS.
Welcome back. An update tonight on the Hunter fire burning at River and Interlake Road south of Lockwood. That fire is now 140 acres and 15% contained. CAL FIRE says 20 nearby structures have been threatened there. That fire initially broke out yesterday afternoon. There's no word yet as to how that fire started. CAL FIRE says at this time no injuries have been reported. And new tonight at 6, CAL FIRE is currently working to fight a fire that's burning south of San Ardo in Monterey County. That fire is currently 250 acres and 50% contained. Central Coast fire crews have also been busy with fires in the area. The stage fire that's burning northeast of Salinas is at 80% containment at 51 acres, and also the Bitter fire burning at 895 acres so far. We also have a story regarding PG&E and how they're making sure that they are preventing fires in our area. Our KION's Drew Andre live for us now in Felton with an update on exactly what adjustments they're doing and what they could mean for people here on the Central Coast.
Well, Veronica, strong winds and low humidity can lead to down power lines catching fire. Now PG&E is trying to improve their electrical system to shorten the time of the planned power shutoffs. Now, what we're showing you here is a microgrid that's used That uses generators, which could keep power on for whole communities. In Santa Cruz County, 28 new sectionalizing devices are being installed, which redirects power and in the process limits the size of the outages.
We'll be able to take some of that power that was in that area and redirect it to other lines to keep those areas with power during times of high fire risk.
Relatively speaking, if you have a down power line, you have a much greater chance of a fire starting in that event with the lower humidities and lower fuel moistures.
The goal is for there to be a third of the number of customers impacted by the shutoffs this year, and for those shutoffs to last just the length as before. But we don't know at this point if or when the shutoffs will happen in 2020. Areas like here in Felton had several multi-day shutoffs last fall. Reporting live in Felton, I'm Drew Andre, KION News, Channel 546.
Drew, thank you. Turning now to a look at our full forecast. Max Carlton here, back with a look at weather. Hey, Max.
Hey, Veronica. Good evening to all of you at home. Another cloudy day out there, especially if you're on the coast. And that's really been the trend over the last couple of days. And really, that's what we can expect over the next few. For now, things in the low to mid 60s along the coast, inland in the upper 60s, low 70s, some spots in the low 80s, mid 80s, some spots even in the low 90s. As you can see, Bradley and Parkfield hanging out in the 90s, along with Coalinga, 86 for Hernandez Valley, but closer to the bay, things in the mid 60s, 65 in Salinas, 62 on the peninsula. Our FUTURECAST showing more clouds hanging out in the bay and stretching down into the Salinas Valley. By tomorrow morning around 9 or 10, they will push back off to the west, hang out near the peninsula, and then as we approach tomorrow evening, the return of more clouds for our neck of the woods. Let's check out your forecast. The temperatures you can expect for tonight for our Santa Cruz region. It's going to be in the low 50s pretty much across the board. Capitola and SoCal and Santa Cruz dropping down to about 55, 53 for our higher elevations. Tomorrow, though, things will be in the mid 70s and low 80s for our friends in Santa Cruz. In the Salinas area, you can see things in the mid 50s pretty much across the board. Tomorrow, though, along the coast, things are only going to top out in the mid to upper 60s. Watsonville expected to top out at around 70 degrees. Inland, though, it'll be warmer. Hollister reaching 85, Gilroy 88, and Morgan Hill expected to reach 92 degrees tomorrow. A quick check on what we can expect on the peninsula. Tonight, things are going to be about 54 degrees for Pebble Beach and Carmel by the Sea, 55 for Pacific Grove and Seaside. Tomorrow, though, things are going to be in the mid to upper 60s. And as we take a bigger look at southern Monterey County, things tonight in the low 50s pretty much across the board. Tomorrow, though, will feel very similar to what we were experiencing today. Parkfield, Bradley, San Antonio Valley reaching into the upper 90s, low 100s. And then for Greenfield and King City expected to be in the low to mid 60s. Let's check out that 7-day forecast for our coastal regions. You can see as we head into the later half of this week, things really staying consistent. 67 for the high for the next 3 days. It'll warm up Friday, about 70 degrees as we kick off next weekend, and then things will cool down a little bit as we hit next Sunday, and then Monday things will get back up to the 70s, but overnight temperatures in the mid 50s for the next 7 days. Our inland areas show breezy and warm conditions over the next few days, at least finishing off this week in the 90s. Next week, though, it'll kick off in the 70s, 78 for your Sunday temperature. Next Monday, things will be back into the 80s. Those overnight temperatures will start off in the low to mid 50s, ending off the week in the mid to upper 50s. That's a check on your full forecast. Veronica, back over to you.
Sounds good, Max. Thank you. Calls for police reform in California following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. California's Attorney General Javier Becerra recently released a list of recommended policy changes for departments to improve use of force procedures. They include banning chokeholds, carotid restraints, encouraging de-escalation in volatile situations, and discontinue the use of certain canine techniques. KION's Alicia Machado found out how Salinas police are addressing the proposals here.
The Salinas police chief tells me the department already had policies in place that align with the AG's recommendations before they were released, but implementing changes to canine biting policies could be challenging. Police department policies in question following the death of George Floyd and public outcry during protests.
I'm going to speak up and take action. This moment demands it. The people of our state demand it.
California Attorney General Javier Becerra is calling on police departments to implement reforms aimed at improving use of force procedures and increasing accountability. Among the most controversial, calls to ban chokeholds and carotid restraints. Salinas Police Chief Adel Freyse says it's part of the department's policy that they won't use carotid hold as a regular use of force option, but only as an alternative to lethal force.
If an officer gets in a situation where they have to use deadly force, and other means are not necessarily available or appropriate, and the carotid is something accessible to the officer, it can be used.
There's also a proposal to stop the use of police canine biting techniques. It's confrontations like this one in San Diego in February that some people now want police departments to avoid. The dog biting a suspect as police move in to make an arrest. The AG recommends implementing find and bark or circle and bark techniques, where canines alert officers by barking rather than biting a suspect as a first response. But there could be some challenges with this approach.
Simply because it's a training issue. Many of the existing dogs have not been trained to circle and bark.
I spoke with a Salinas PD sergeant who is a previous canine handler. He says the department's canines are only trained to bite and hold or help locate suspects, but they have to warn suspects before they deploy them.
We give the suspects an opportunity to surrender themselves peacefully before the canine is deployed.
Chief Freyse says they are going to continue using canines because they are very effective, but says that they will comply with the AG's recommendation to give warning first. In Salinas, Alicia Machado, KION News Channel 546.